Peace, brothers and sisters. This is your brother Elisha Israel, my household of faith. I want to give honor, all glory, and honor to the Most High. Peace to everybody that's listening. In the name of Jesus. I don't know how long this broadcast is going to last because I've been having some problems with YouTube. So that being said, I want to get right into the topic, and the topic is the elections. You know, it's a lot of fervor going on in regard to elections and people trying to rock the vote. They're trying to, vote or die. So I want to deal with this from a biblical perspective, but I also want to deal with it from a practical perspective first and foremost. Black people, brothers and sisters, people in particular, who are mainly the people that listen to this particular YouTube channel. Practically speaking, voting in and of itself doesn't do anything, particularly on a national level, sometimes on a state level for us as a people. And when people are telling you to vote, they are not really telling you to vote. They tell you to vote Democrat. Vote Democrat. And And this is not me saying you need to vote Republican. That's not what I'm getting at. But what I am saying is that, number one, if you don't have any demands for the people that claim to come and represent you, you will get nothing in return. I mean, if the presidency of Barack Obama wasn't an education in that, I don't know what he is. But he came to where I'm at recently, and I heard him speak very briefly. I was watching the feed, and quite frankly, he's basically said you're not going to get anything from this, but it might get a little better. Things might get a little better. So while people went up in arms about this, they eternal soul is on the line and they're not paying attention. But from a practical sense, brothers and sisters, if you don't have an economic base to buy these politicians like people buy shoes, you ain't got nothing coming. I was listening to another person that's running for office where I'm located, and he was very condescending to me. You better get out and vote. Everybody better get out of here and vote. First of all, who am I voting for? And what are you going to do for me? That's all I care about. I don't care about other people in regard, because really when you're looking at things politically, you're looking at what you can do for a particular group. And Black people, unfortunately, are in a position to where you have nowhere to go. So you're going back and forth. You're going to, as if Democrats going to do something for you. Democrats are the reason why we're in jail wholesale. Don't get me wrong. At the same time, you got these Republicans who are going out of their way to kick us off of voter rolls. So I don't put my stock in this country. I don't put my stock in this political system. I'm not telling you to vote or not to vote or to vote or who to vote for. But I will say you're naive if you think that if you're not funding campaigns, that some kind of way your vote's going to mean something. If you're not coming with demands from people that you only see when it's time for a vote, want to put that forth. And the same kind of foolishness that you see going on for all the talk about the current president and all the racism, a lot of racism during the Obama administration as well, and a lot of racism the Bush administration as well, and the Clinton administration, and the Bush before that, and the Reagan before that, and the Carter before that, and the Ford before that, and the Nixon before that, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I want to start off in Daniel, the 2nd chapter, because really I want to deal with what the believers should understand during this election season. This is Daniel, the 2nd chapter, and I want to pick it up at verse 20. This is Daniel chapter 2 and verse 20. It reads, Daniel answered and said, Blessed be the name of God forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his. It says, and he changeth the times and the seasons. He removeth kings and setteth up kings. He giveth wisdom unto the wise and knowledge to them that know understanding. So one thing about it, you look at who's in power. The one who has ultimate power can put kings in power, can remove kings and put kings in power. Right? That's what you need to understand. That's one thing. Let's go to Proverbs, the 21st chapter. He is the one that's in control. Proverbs 21, I want to pick it up at verse 1. Because even when you have a king, when you have a leader, listen to what God can do. It said, a king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. You look at how he influenced Pharaoh through the actions. He didn't control he didn't make him do it, but he set up the circumstances. And he said, the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord as the rivers of waters. He turneth it whithersoever he will. Let's go to 1 Timothy. Because we are in this diaspora, we are in a situation in which we are living in foreign lands, and these foreign lands have rulership, or we are believers. If you're not in the diaspora, you're a believer, you still in the land, and these rulers, these people don't know God. But what does Paul say? This is 1 Timothy 2 and verse 1. It says, I exhort, therefore, that first of all supplications, prayers, intercessions, and giving of thanks be made for all men. Right? So he's talking about prayer here, and he says for kings and for all that are in authority. He said, even pray for those that are in authority. He said, why? That we may be led, that we may lead a quiet and peaceable life in all godliness and honesty. For this is good and acceptable in the sight of God our Savior. So he said, pray for them. Right? That they would do the right thing. Right? So that you would have peace. Does that mean that they know God? No. Don't mean that they know God. It's obvious these people don't know God. Look at what they're doing. I'll just give you an example for black people in particular. All that for Obama, that's my president, that's my president. Your president is the one that's in office right now. Obama's not president. I'm gonna give him his proper honor. President Obama is not the president right now. So you talking about him? Exactly. What did he do for your existence? What did he do for you? How did he change your standard of living? And the things that he did, were they moral? Look at how he changed the culture of American society, particularly when it came to his support with same-sex marriage. I mean, you making the White House lighting it up with rainbow colors. Yeah, what was it? What did he exactly do for you? Not much. But nevertheless, and you got some say this man in here is in office, this president now is racist. Let me say this. Yeah. I mean, I see why people saying that. I mean, it's very clear that they're saying it, but at the same time, you want to live peaceably in your particular situation. Because when it's all said and done, we should understand who has true control over things. Let's go to 1 Peter. And that's not me justifying anything that's done that is wrong, because I'm not. Whoever it is, Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, Independent, you with the marijuana political party, you a socialist, whatever it is, if it's wrong, it's wrong. So I'm not justifying anything anybody's doing. But we really need to put things into perspective. Let's go to 1 Peter, the 2nd chapter. We're gonna pick it up at verse 13. Because Peter tells us something about how as believers we should operate. It says, submit yourselves to every ordinance of man for the Lord's sake, whether it be to the king as supreme or unto governors as unto them that are sent by him, for the punishment of evildoers and for the praise of them that do well. For so is the will of God, that with well-doing ye may put to silence the ignorance of foolish men. So he's saying be subject to powers. Okay? Now that doesn't mean that you obey if it goes against God's law. Just to show you an example what I'm talking about, let's go to we're gonna go to Daniel. Back to Daniel. Let's go to the book of Daniel, chapter. Hold on one second. Daniel, the 3rd chapter. See, again, these people don't know God, brothers and sisters. This is Daniel, the 3rd chapter. We're gonna pick it up at verse 16. Because here, these captives, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, there was an ordinance that went forth that said, hey, you have to bow down to this false god. You know, there were a lot of ordinances that were going on, or they were trying to put forth different things in regard to how you must react, or how you must deal with this homosexual agenda. You see it wholesale. You see it wholesale in places like Canada. But nevertheless, he said, Shadrach, Meshach, in verse 16, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer thee in this matter. If it be so, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace. They didn't bow. So now Nebuchadnezzar was upset because he put forth the decree. You're going to bow down to this image. But now that he is in power, and the Lord used him. He used him to bring forth judgment to Israel for their sins. Now that decree, however, goes against what thus saith the Lord. So this is why their response was what it was. So he said, I just want to hold your finger here. Just want to show you something real quick. Let's go to Jeremiah, the 27th chapter. Just why I said, see, sometimes the leader, the one that's in power, is the one the people deserve. That's what people don't realize. How you gonna be a nation full of baby killers and think you're supposed to have the best? Jeremiah 27, and we're gonna pick it up at verse 6. I'm gonna pick it up and go right to verse 8. And it says, and it shall come to pass that the nation and kingdom which will not serve the same Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon. It says, verse 6, 27 and 6, Jeremiah 27 and 6. It says, and now have I given all these lands into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon. He is the one that sets up kings. Even the political, you really think about this thing, brothers and sisters, even the political system as it is historically in this country, you think it's set up in a way that certain people are gonna be in power. The higher you go, it's a select group of people. Historically, they have been vetted. Historically, they have been chosen by the Electoral College. And it's set up in a particular way. Even when you look at the governor's races, for example, you got one billionaire. He get beat by another billionaire. Where's that, in Illinois? You have to have a certain amount of money. In addition, you have to be chosen to occupy some of these positions from amongst men. But even with that, brothers and sisters, the Lord allows certain things to take place. Again, it's not me telling you to vote, not to vote. I'm not saying either way. Jeremiah, the 27th chapter, because I'm here because he called Nebuchadnezzar something. He said, my servant, and the beast of the field have I given him also to serve him. Now, and when he got out of line, didn't acknowledge God, what happened to him? He was out there like a beast. But God is the one that put him in that position. For whatever the people thought about Nebuchadnezzar, God put him in that position. That don't mean he was a righteous man. That's what people fail to realize. These people get in these positions, and they could be the one that's there to take the nation down. And he is the one that sets up kings. He is the ones that brings down kings. He's the one that establishes kingdoms and destroys kingdoms. Don't you understand? When it came to the Babylonian kingdom, right? When they took the vessels of the temple and they drank and they partying and banqueted, he saw the handwriting on the wall. Many take care of you farsing. So I've weighed you in the balance, your kingdom in the balance, and you've been found wanting, right? No empire lasts forever, brothers and sisters. So nevertheless, back in Daniel 3, because you don't even whatever this, he said, to live peaceably, right? To follow order and protocol. But at the same time, understand that above this one that's in power is God. And don't go against what God said. And God said, have no other gods before me. So that's why here they said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer thee in this matter, meaning we don't have to think about this one. If it be so, our God is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of thine hand, O king. But if not, meaning we know he can deliver, he's omnipotent. We don't have a doubt about that, but we are not. He said, be it known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. See, he tells you to be subject unto the powers. Let's go to Romans 13. But at the same time, that don't mean you just disobey God. See, that's the crazy part. Everybody, they lining up. They lining up around the block. It's so much further to go vote, but it's not further to serve the true and living God. See, that fervor is not there. See, these men were willing to go into a fiery furnace to continue their obedience and adherence to God's word, to his commandment. This is Romans 13. I want to pick it up at verse 1. Romans 13:1. Here Paul says, let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of God. The powers that be are ordained of God. Whosoever therefore resisted the power, resisted the ordinance of God, and they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation. Okay, so now he's talking about how the believers and understand he's responding to something. You know, a lot of times, you know, these slave masters that will come and brand your face when you tried to run away, or that would dismember you, or they'll castrate you, or rape your wife. They will read these scriptures to you out of context, because they ain't reading the part where they talk about man stealers and what's supposed to be happening to them, because that's what they are, or that's what they were, those slave masters. See, that's another thing. But yeah, if things are in, you're not supposed to be breaking laws, brothers and sisters. That's not how you should operate. Let's go to Matthew, the 22nd chapter. Because here Jesus tells them the same thing. And this is the one who all things eventually are going to belong to, we're going to find. This is Matthew, the 22nd chapter, and verse 17. Matthew 22 and verse 17. It reads, tell us therefore, what thinkest thou? It's not the Herodians, right? They come to him and they say, what thinkest thou? Is it lawful to give tribute unto Caesar or not? Because that was a thing of contention. That was a subject of contention. Should you be paying taxes to Caesar? But Jesus received their wickedness and said, why tempt ye me, ye hypocrites? So he called the people some hypocrites, right? Then he said, show me the tribute money. And they brought unto him a penny. And he said unto them, whose is this image and superscription? They say unto him, Caesar's. Then said he unto them, render therefore unto Caesar the things which are Caesar's, and unto God the things that are God's. See, people worried about Caesar, they ain't worried about God. And God, the one you need to be worried about. People worried about Trump, president. I'm going to show him his proper honor. President Trump, just like I showed President Obama his proper honor. Don't get me wrong. I say when they doing something that's contrary to the word of God. But you people worried about him and what he gonna do. You need to be worried about God. People not worried about God. They up in arms about Trump, and their life was the same exact way it was under Trump as it was under President Obama and the president before. Same stuff going on. Same things going on. Not justifying any wrongdoing. What I'm saying is the one you need to be worried about, you ain't worried about him. You fearful of what one might do. What benefit you might lose. How about your eternal soul? How about that benefit? This is Mark. Let's go to Because this one you need to be worried about. I said Mark, I meant Luke. Luke the 12th chapter. Luke 12 and verse 15 and verse 5. Actually, verse 4. It says, and I say unto you, my friends, be not afraid of them that kill the body, and after that have no more that they can do. So now he's telling you, not just even to the point you worry about some benefit, don't fear the one that can kill the body, that can even take your life. Don't fear him. He said, but I will forewarn you whom ye shall fear. Fear him which after he hath killed have power to cast into hell. Yea, I say unto you, fear him. You need to fear the one that can cast you into the lake of fire. That's God, but nobody's thinking about him. But you lined up to vote. Because you ain't doing it out of fear, because it's not out of logic. Because if you understood, you would consider that, wait a minute. What am I going to get out this deal? Besides a pat on the head. But let's go to Proverbs. I just want to pick up something here about how leaders should govern, or what they should use to rule. Because it's clear that's not always the case. This is Proverbs, the 8th chapter. We want to pick it up at verse 12. Now here it says, I wisdom dwell with prudence and find out knowledge of witty inventions. So now here in this particular proverb, wisdom is personified. And he tells you what he does with wisdom, or what's done with this wisdom. It says in verse 15, by me kings reign and princes decree justice. Just like Solomon, right? How you saw with the two harlots and the baby, they showed his wisdom and his judgment. He was able to rule through wisdom, right? Who has wisdom and who is righteous? Let's go to Exodus, the 18th chapter. Exodus, we want to pick it up at Exodus, the 18th chapter, because those are the children of Israel. They had their own particular system of rulership prior, and it was a theocracy. It wasn't a republic. It wasn't a democracy. It was a theocracy. And the Constitution was not written by the founding fathers. It was written by Moses. Let's go here to Exodus. Hold on one second. I might want to go another place. Exodus the 22nd, Exodus the 18th chapter and verse 17. It says something here. This is Moses' father-in-law. Now he comes to him, he gives him wisdom, because everything's at the feet, all the judgments at the feet of Moses. Because he's the one who was the deliverer. He was the one that was communing with God. He was the intercessor. But here it says in verse 17, because when he saw what he did, he said, man, you're going to wear away. And Moses' father-in-law said unto him, the thing that thou doest is not good. It was so much pressure. It's like when you look, and I'm not comparing, please don't think I'm comparing the two. But you think about when you are governing the people, that's pressure. That's stress. You look at the former president, and you see how he looked when he started and look how he finished. It's two different people. This the outward appearance, he had aged. His hair was all gray. That's a lot of stress. We said so he says, thou wilt surely wear away, both thou and this people that is with thee, for this thing is too heavy for thee. Thou art not able to perform it thyself alone. Hearken now unto my voice. I will give thee counsel, and God shall be with thee. Be thou for the people to Godward, that thou mayest bring the causes unto God. And thou shalt, this is what he said, and thou shalt teach them ordinances and laws, and shall show them the way wherein they must walk, and the work that they must do. So now he's saying, listen, moreover, thou shalt provide, he says, be thou for the people to Godward that thou. So in order to teach them what they should do, he says in verse 21, moreover, thou shalt provide out of all the people able men such as fear God, men of truth, hating covetousness, and place such over them to be rulers of thousands and rulers of hundreds, rulers of fifties and rulers of 10, and let them judge the people at all seasons. And it shall be that every great matter they shall bring unto thee, but every small matter they shall judge. So there was a division of government, right, amongst men. But he didn't say take the basest sort. He didn't say take thieves and robbers. He didn't say take crooks with no integrity, like you see so many politicians. He said, so the ones that should rule, he says, men, first of all, that are able, have the ability to do such. He said, and that fear God, they show a reverence for God. Men of truth. You can't find truth in Washington today. But he said, men of truth, everybody, man, all you see is hypocrisy. He said, hating covetousness, and place such over them to be rulers. So men of truth. See, your integrity, your ethics, what's your moral compass? If you don't know God, brothers and sisters, you don't have a moral compass. On one hand, you got a bunch of people who are oppressing the poor, who are dealing in racist policies. On the other hand, they're dealing in racist policies. And they are dealing in immoral behavior, sanctioning abortion, sanctioning same-sex marriage. And it's called progressive. Oh. So I was saying, so who you gonna vote for? I said, who you gonna vote for? Like sometimes in certain instances, asking who you gonna vote for is like, who you voting for, Satan or the devil? And so you got some on one side, I'm voting for Satan. You say, what? You voting for Satan? No, I'm voting for the devil. You got another one who says, well, I'm going for Lucifer. Another one say, I'm going for the serpent. All y'all going for the same. What you need to do is be worried about God. Because we, brothers and sisters, we have a king. We have a king. Let's go to 1 Samuel, the 8th chapter. 1 Samuel, the 8th chapter. We're almost done. 1 Samuel, the 8th chapter. I want to pick it up in verse 1. It says, and it came to pass when Samuel was old that he made his sons judges over Israel. Now the name of his firstborn was Joel, and the name of his second Abiah. They were judges in Beersheba. Now let's see these sons, because we know Samuel was a righteous prophet. He was a judge over Israel. He was a priest. He was a righteous prophet. But he had sons, and it said, and his sons walked not in his ways, but turned aside after lucre, and took bribes and perverted judgment. So they weren't about the right. That's like some, they sell political seats. You pay them under the table. That's why I say politics is a dirty game. It's not about what's right. It's about what's politically expedient at the time. And morality becomes whatever is right at the time. That's why I said, when you look at, I'm going to say it, when you look at the case, with the Supreme Court justice, is a bunch of hypocrisy. How you gonna talk about being truthful, and he didn't lie talking about serving in Vietnam. One talking about sexual assault when he writes an article describing his own case of sexual assault. Not on him, but on somebody else. It's a bunch of hypocrisy. It's a bunch of hypocrisy. And if he had been their candidate, they would have made sure, if they had power, they would have confirmed it. You see what I'm saying? So you got people throwing stones that's living in glass houses. You got the pot calling the kettle black. But it says, so now it says his sons were wicked. Now we read the kind of person that should rule over the people. See, people not looking at people's character. So it says, then all the elders of Israel gathered themselves together and came to Samuel unto Ramah and said unto him, behold, thou art old and thy sons walk not in thy ways. Now make us a king to judge us like all the nations. Now Samuel was displeased with this thing. He did not want to do it. But the Lord told him, go ahead. Verse 7, and the Lord said unto Samuel, hearken unto the voice of the people, and all that they say unto thee, for they have not rejected thee, but they have rejected me, that I should not reign over them. And they didn't understand then, but he allowed them to have a king. He left that office and understand when he comes back, he's going to take that particular office of king. He's already taken back the office of priest that was in the hands of the Levites. But now, when he comes back, he's going to take the office of king. This is Revelation. This is in Revelation 11th chapter and the 15th verse. And this ultimately is what we need to be looking to. Not looking to a greater America, making America great again. You can forget it. You can forget it. Putting your stock in these men and women that don't know God, and ignoring your duty as God, but you're worried about your civic duty. You're not worried about your duty to, and we all have. He said, let us say the conclusion of the whole matter, fear God and keep his commandments. For he shall bring every work into judgment, with every secret thing. For this is the whole duty of man, but he shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. See, that's your duty. You're talking about a civic duty. Are you doing that duty? Verse 15, and the seventh angel sounded, and there were great voices in heaven saying, the kingdoms of this world are become the kingdoms of our Lord and of his Christ, and he shall reign forever and ever. You talking about being a citizen, brothers and sisters. Citizenship is going to be yours if you are found worthy when he returns. Citizenship is in heaven right now, and when he returns, you're going to have it, and you can inherit the kingdom of God. That should be our main concern, brothers and sisters. That should be our main concern. And with that, I want to remind you that we're at the House of Faith, meet every Sabbath at 5925 West 25th Avenue in Gary, Indiana. 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. We live stream right here on the IsraelTeach YouTube channel. We also live stream on our website at www.IsraelTeach.org. There are also books available on Amazon.com. Enter Easy Begin with Ships, Killing Black Innocents, Hair Like Wool, Feet Like Burned Brass, and the Pagan Origins of Christian Holidays. They're all available on Amazon.com. You've been edified through this ministry. You can leave a donation if you feel compelled to do so. 100% of the monies goes towards the work of the ministry. We don't put it in our pockets. And with that, brothers and sisters, so it's my prayer that you were edified.